Hey there, I wanted to give you a very special welcome to this episode with Rafael Garcia. Now, I've interviewed a lot of NDE people who have had experiences, and I've gotten some great insights from them. I wouldn't dare to try to rank them, but I will have to say this one ranks right up there in terms of what he tells us about where we are, where we're going, the plan for humanity, etc. Now, we recorded this a couple weeks after the 2024 election in the US. I know a lot of people are happy about the election on one side. People are upset about the election on the other side. But no matter which side you're on, he gave me some great insights that gave me a lot of hope for where America and the world is going in the future. So make sure you stay to the end to get it all. And let me know what you think. I'd like to hear it. Thanks. Have a great day. Close your eyes and imagine. What if the things in life that cause us the greatest pain, the things that bring us grief, are challenges? Challenges designed to help us grow, to ultimately become what we were always meant to be. We feel like we've been buried, but what if, like a seed, we've been planted? And having been planted, we grow to become a mighty tree. Now, open your eyes. Open your eyes to this way of viewing life. Come with me as we explore your true, infinite, eternal nature. This is Grief to Growth, and I am your host, Brian Smith. Welcome to Grief to Growth, where we explore life's biggest questions: who we are, where we come from, why we're here, and what lies ahead. So, whether you're a first time listener or you're part of our growing community, I'm so glad you chose to spend time with us today. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and this is the place where we dive deep into the human experience to uncover the wisdom that helps us to grow, to heal, and to find meaning in life's challenges. Today's guest is Rafael Garcia. Rafael is a man whose life journey is nothing short of extraordinary. He had a near death experience that ignited a profound awakening of consciousness. And since then, he's dedicated his life to understanding and sharing the truth about our multidimensional nature and the fabric of higher consciousness. And this is the stuff that I'm fascinated by if you listen to the podcast at any time. So I was telling Rafael before we got started, I'm going to be asking questions for myself because this is mind bending stuff for me. Raphael has traveled the world for over 2 decades, uncovering spiritual insights that connect us to the essence of who we are. His awakening deepened in 2009 while he was living in Germany, and now he lives in his home in San Diego, California. And he's on a mission to explore and share fascinating topics like quantum jumping, time travel, and the 12 dimensions of our consciousness. So buckle up. This is going to be a fun ride. During our conversation, we'll delve into how we can connect with our higher selves. We'll talk about the secrets of the soul blueprint, what lies beyond the cycle of reincarnation, and Raphael with our insights like remote viewing, astral projection, and what it truly means to unplug from the matrix. Raphael and his wife Linda are also working on 4 exciting books, and we'll talk about those. And those books promise to expand our understanding of the universe and ourselves. So be sure to visit his website, Decoding Life Lessons, to find out more there. So stick with us as we explore these mind bending topics. And don't forget to join the conversation in our community afterwards at grieftogrowth.com/community. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. And with that, I want to welcome to Grief to Growth, Rafael Garcia.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. It's really a pleasure to be here
Yeah,
and share my story.
yes, absolutely. So, Rafael, if you don't mind, let's start with your near death experience and how that kind of transformed you.
Yeah, so in 2004, I was laying in my room and I had this energy that came above me, which was like a cloud that all of a sudden appeared. And I was asleep actually, but then I woke up because I felt this energy. And at that point, I knew like it was time to go, like it was coming from myself.
Hmm.
And it was only for like maybe 2 3 seconds that it was like this kind of shock. And then after that I just saw a portal or a light that all in these that we all have to see the light there we're expressing. I did use like no words to express the love, the intensity of the magnitude of just the love that comes out of that light. But so the way I came to understand it, it was just a portal to the next dimensions. So, and then as soon as I saw that, then I didn't even question it. I automatically left my body and I automatically went into that portal because it was there's so much love. So I was like, and then as soon as I went into that portal, there was all my family members on the other side that had already passed away. So this is the process that it was the welcome committee that was there welcoming me, and they were all laughing and smiling and hugging. They all like cuddled me and came and hugged me, and they were like, welcome back. It was like a birth on the other side. Like I was just born on the other side, and it was like that was the feeling that I had when I was there. And then at that point, they were all laughing, we were just cuddling me, and then they said, well, and then after a little bit, they're like, okay, well, we'll see you later. And then I'm like, where are you guys going? And they're like, yeah, we got to go back to school. And I'm like, okay. And then they say, well, now you have to go to this. There's a chamber. There was like a chamber, like a dome. And then they're like, this is where you need to go now, and we'll see you later. And then I was like, okay. And then I went into that chamber, and then there was like a door. And as soon as I went into that chamber, that's what I met, the Council of Light, which were like 12 beings. And then the Council of Light, they were just like, welcome. And, it's great having you back. And regular, like my parents, and then this feeling of warm and love. And then they say, how did you feel about your life? How was your life? And I was just like, yeah, it was great. I had a blast. I had a really good time. Thank you. And then after that, I came to realize that each one of the councils represented a different lesson, because they told me, they all of a sudden they showed me a cycle with all my lifetimes, and then I knew that was a cycle of reincarnation. And at that point, I realized that they told me, the way the system works, you keep going back over and over and over, lifetime after lifetime, and it kind of goes in a, this is where I came to understand that although all lifetimes are really happening simultaneously at the same time, there was some kind of linear evolution of the soul. So I saw how kind of like, let's say if it was a circle, it started from the beginning, but it did come like one after the other, how it evolved. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
From soul contracts, from karma, from balancing of energies, from, learning lessons. And it kind of kept going around in a circle as it evolved more and more and more. And then, so then they told me, this is the way the system works. There's a system of reincarnation where, old souls get to evolve. And then ultimately the goal is to master the lessons. And each one of them represented a lesson, so, and again, the lessons are just the virtues that we're here to learn, like unconditional love, compassion, kindness, integrity, forgiveness, letting go. I think that was one of the most difficult ones that I came to realize that was probably the most difficult one. Because we all go through hardships and, sufferings, and we lose a loved one, right? Or our marriage breaks apart, or whatever it is, something, traumas from childhood or things that we've gone in our lives. I came to understand that was probably like the ultimate one, the letting go, because we keep, all this suffering, all these attachments with us, and it's about releasing everything ultimately. That was the ultimate goal. So it was like letting go. It was non-attachments, patience, respect. All these virtues that ultimately all life experiences happen to teach us. Like we're just in a school, right? Earth is a school or a hologram where it's like a playground. You see what I'm saying? So I came to understand, and then they show you the life review, right? That's where then all of a sudden they show me my life review. And then I came to see here I was, walking and then running into an old lady that's about to, just like stumbling, and she needed help. And I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? Please let me help you cross the street. And I hold her and, help her cross the street. I'm talking to her, I'm laughing. And then and then that one of those beings, maybe the being of kindness, kind of lit up and said, you did great, so I came to understand basically that ultimately, the goal is like to become an ascended master, or to complete the cycle of reincarnation, is when we master the lessons, and of course the most difficult ones, again, like I said, it's the letting go, the forgiveness, and the non-attachments, which are the most difficult for all of us, right? We're all holding on to stuff, and that causes suffering. But ultimately, that's what in that life review, that's what I got to see. And then also in the hologram, as I went into the life review, I became other people as well. That was one of the things that it was not just me, but then all of a sudden I became the other people that I interacted with, and then I saw the ripple effect. You see, of how if I say something kind to someone, then how that person, you know, it made a ripple effect in that person's life, how they took it to their family, to their children, to their, you know, it was just a ripple effect to see how our deeds and our actions kind of have on people from the good and the bad, you know. But ultimately, you know, this is like, I think that's just a space for you to reflect,
Mm.
so that when you come back again in another lifetime, you know, you're like, okay, well, how much, which ones do I need to polish more, you know, which lessons, and what karma do I need to balance, you know, maybe from a soul that there was some kind of suffering in one lifetime, and then in the next lifetime, that's how it kind of balances. You'll have to go through a balance of, and then ultimately the goal is to release it, right? Like, as you let go and release and become then liberated, and you kind of like break the chain of the contract, and then it's all along is just as cool, you know. That was like what I
Hmm.
came to understand, you know, from that space. And then from there, so, you know, from there, I got to see that, that they showed me, then all of a sudden they showed me like that there was like my higher self. I became my higher self. And as I became my higher self, I saw like all this, the cycle of reincarnation, but I saw like thousands of lifetimes around me in bubbles, you know, like in like of light. And then I came to understand that they were all happening at the same time, but just at different frequencies, just at different frequencies. And then from there, I got to from there. Then later on, I went back to this space of, you know, of going back to see quantum jump into different of my lifetimes. But after I was shown that, they showed me that, they actually told me, we'll show you what comes after you complete the cycle of reincarnation. And what happened is like basically, as I was shown, like, you know, like I mentioned before, like how I started at point A, you know, and I went around in a circle all the way to the very end. I still have 6 more lifetimes from what I was showing you,
Mm.
that I still have more, six more to complete the cycle. But they show me what it's like to complete the cycle. And as I went around the circle, there was more and more light in my heart. Like it just started expanding with light, until like complete. I came to the end, and as I came to the end, that's when I became. That's when I mastered the lessons, right? And that's when I became an ascended master, or that's when I became one with my higher self. And as I became that, which I'm not there yet, but it was like they're showing me, you know, what it's like. At that point, it was really like I was just like, oh my god, you know, like it was a feeling, that overwhelming feeling, that like, oh my god, like I'm one with my higher self, I'm one with the universe. You're feeling like you're like I don't know, you know, like it was weird, like an ascended master, whatever. But all of a sudden, 3 beings came, and they were like really advanced beings, and then like they saw me like a little kid, like, you know, like graduating from kindergarten, and I felt like a kid, like a little kid,
Hmm.
that I was graduating from kindergarten.
Hmm.
And then they told me, you know, they said, yeah, you did great. And I saw them like my parents, and, you know, and I was just like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. That's when I came to realize that, oh my, there's like so much more, even when we complete the cycle of reincarnation, it's not even the end. And then they told me, you know, you did great. And then they're like, we'll show you, there's other schools that you can go to, after now, you know, now that you complete the cycle,
Hmm.
there's other schools. And then, so then as we walked out of that chamber, because they came into the chamber, those 3 beings of light, as we walked out, as soon as we walked out of the chamber, I turned back and I realized that the chamber had been our universe. And I was like, well, that was our universe? Like, oh my God, it was kind of small, you know, like the size of a house.
Mm.
And I was just like, okay. And then from there, they show me other universes. And then they say, now you can go to this other universe, or schools. Again, the universes are just schools. And then in this other universe, you can become like it's like the Avatar universe, or the Ascended Master universe, or it's a fifth dimensional universe for fifth dimensional beings, which are like the Ascended Masters. And then in that universe, you can get to incarnate in more advanced civilizations, and, you know, you have abilities like telepathy, teleportation, telekinesis, and then you can, you know, you can just incarnate in different planets, different civilizations, and then you're working on different things. I mean, you can then start working with different star beings across the universe. You communicate with, you know, you start having all these abilities, kind of
Hmm.
like the Marvel movies, this kind of character.
Hmm.
You become like Thor or something like that.
Yeah.
And then from there, that was one universe or one school, and it was schools. And then I saw doors into that universe. You know, that was that's cool. And then there was another universe or another school, which was like the Akashic record universe or school, where you became an Akashic record keeper. And again, there's levels in all those universes, so from understanding how everything's stored in the astral realms and the Akashic records. But you probably start from a level where you do the records of a planet, and then you do the records of different planets, and then galaxies, and so there's different levels. So that was another school, and then there was another school where that was the school of the creators, where you started becoming a creator. Basically, you start creating then planets and then life forms, and then you can start creating stars, and you start creating galaxies, and then you can start creating universes. And so that was kind of like the schools that I saw and that I came to see. And then after that, I went into they're like, okay, now you can go this way. And as I went I kind of like stepped out of there. I saw the Akashic records, which was like the library that it's in this heavenly realm.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I saw the Akashic records, there were like huge columns of light that went infinite. There was no end to the light to those columns. And then I saw souls from all over the universe. Like they're like looking at their books, and then there was like like for example, like you'll be there with your daughter sitting, having your books and sitting there. People were sitting in chairs, in tables, in rooms. So there was a couple like 2, 3, 4 together, or there was a couple just by themselves looking at their books.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that's where I came to realize that that's where everything, all our lifetimes are stored there. And then but then there's more than that, because when I was just in awe looking at all this. And then all of a sudden, one of the record keepers, they were like super tall beings, they were like giving the books to everyone. One of them came, one of them just grabbed the book and gave it to me. And then as he gave me the book, I just grabbed, it was like transparent, and it was kind of like glowing, and it kind of had stars, it's like, and then I saw the book, and then I saw the planet Earth. And then it was like the divine plan of Earth, with some symbols. And then as I opened the book, I saw a holographic projection of the future of Earth, like what's going to be, like eventually we'll reach utopia, like eventually there'll be world peace, there will be no more borders, no more poverty, and that's basically, that's the ultimate divine plan. Mm-hmm. And it's already written. So I was able to see that, and I was able to see how they create, the governments, all the governments are about to collapse, for the next 5-10 years. Because because we are ascending into the 4th dimension as a collective. Mm-hmm. So we've been in the 3-dimension kind of game. This is like a game, really. The dimensions are games. So now we're entering the 4th dimension, which is a realm of transparency, integrity, and compassion. Those are kind of like the pillars of this new game. You see what I'm saying? So in the 4th dimension, so anything that is not, that doesn't resonate with those pillars, it's going to collapse. So, so that's why we're going through the transition of transparency at the moment. And then I saw that then there's going to be new systems being created. There's, basically with those pillars. And then there's going to be, and then, different things are going to happen too as well. Like we're going to be like, theories like such as string theory, parallel universe theory, simulation theory. All those theories are actually going to be proven as well within the next 10, 15 years. So then that's going to be our new reality. Like, oh yeah, we're living in a simulation, and there's different dimensions. Like that's like, the Earth is round. Like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, we live in different dimensions. Yeah, of course. Like that's normal. So that's going to be the new reality very soon. And then after that, Akashic records, so then I got to see that there was different dimensions. After that, so then I saw all these levels. And then within each dimension, there was like soul groups and frequencies and levels as well, within each dimension. And but then at that point, I ended up deciding to come back, because I wanted to say goodbye to my family, and my sister was pregnant as well. So I just thought, you know what, this is not the right time. I asked for an extension, and I asked to see if I could come back, and I did come back, and then I came back here to Earth, and then I wanted to go back again, like within 6 months, and I was like praying every day, please let me go back. But it never happened. So then I thought, okay, well, but then from there, that's when I started with my spiritual transformative experiences, which is when I started having many out-of-body experiences and astral traveling. And then that's when I started going into the 12 dimensions, which I can explain now more, but I don't know if you will have any questions that you want to, of anything that I cover right now, and then I can continue with the dimensions if you like.
So,
time for a quick break. Make sure to like and subscribe to continue to receive great content from Grief to Growth. And now back to the episode.
Well, yeah, you said you were lying in your bed, so you didn't apparently have a health crisis that sent you there. It just kind of it kind of came over you. And you decided that you wanted to come back because a lot of times when people have NDEs, they say it was so blissful there. I was like, I want to stay, and they make you come back. So that wasn't your experience.
I mean, it was. I but I think for me it was just like I say when I saw the dimensions, I was about to fly into my dimension or my soul group.
Hmm.
But the only reason I held back was because my sister was pregnant, and I thought, man, if I go right now, this might affect her pregnancy, and I don't want that to happen. And
Hmm.
then I thought of my mom too, and I'm like, God, I just want to go back and say goodbye before I. So all I said was like, can I have an extension of a few months? Like I
Yeah,
wanted to make sure the baby was
yeah.
born, and
Just a
then I
few
wanted to hang out
months.
with my family, and
Not 20 years, right?
yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine you were there too, and then maybe you wanted to come back and say goodbye to your kids, and
Right,
I
right.
mean, you could say, can I have a little extension? So I did it for that reason, not because I wanted to come back. I didn't want to come back, but I
Yeah,
thought because of them, but that's why when I only asked for like 6 months, and then when the 6 months kind of came, I was praying every day, like let's go, but there was
yeah, yeah. Well,
so
it's interesting. What I love about your experience is that the universe is much more ornate than we understand. It's much more elegant. There's these systems and levels and dimensions, and there's so much to it. And this is the first time I think I've heard someone say, once we complete that cycle of reincarnation, which I assume means coming back to Earth, it's like, well, that's just the beginning. That's just
mhm.
graduating from Earth school, and then you're on to the next thing. So there's always some something more to grow into.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I then learned, that basically that wasn't even the end, because like, yeah, I mean, people think like, oh yeah, that's the end, and you become one, and you come with the swords, and that's it. Like, well, I mean, not for me. What I was shown to me was like, no, you're barely graduating from kindergarten.
Yeah.
There's way
So,
more.
and I also hear that we can all become ascendant masters because I think we think of there's a few of them, right? There's 10, 15, whatever the number is. But it's something that we can all aspire to, which is what Jesus told us, right? That we could all become like him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I also always say that for me to become an ascended master is just to master the lessons.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just to become a good human being with a good
Yeah.
heart that is able to forgive and let go. I mean, bottom line, that really is what it is. And then from there, of course, once you master those lessons, then it comes then with then you can start, of course, exploring different dimensions, or you can start being aware of different. Yeah, I mean, all your other lifetimes, or you can start, becoming aware of different realms and different universes. So then that's the benefit, of course, as you become an ascended master, or as you become your higher self.
Hmm.
There's all these things, but ultimately, yeah, it is just to master the lessons, and that's everyone, and everyone will eventually get there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like everyone. I mean,
Right.
eventually we will learn the lessons, and yeah. So I came to understand too, like, like if somehow, like, yeah, like, like I kind of came to understand the whole thing. Like, okay, maybe in one lifetime I was the bad guy and I committed something, but then he came back, right? And
Hmm.
then, and then that's
Hmm.
why, like, right now, my soul is like, I can never be dishonest. I can never steal. I can never kill anyone. I can never harm anyone. I mean, I just can't, it's just my soul won't let me. But
Hmm.
why is that? But well, because I have already gone through those lessons, like
Hmm.
maybe I committed an action that wasn't good, but it was committed to me over and over to a point where like you just cannot do it. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
just you just can't. And then ultimately, that's what makes the difference between people and someone that is honest or has those virtues. It's because they have already gone through more lifetimes or more experiences,
Hmm.
so that they
Yeah.
know in their soul. Oh, then I saw the soul blueprint too, like my soul blueprint.
Yeah.
It was like a holographic projection where I knew that everything was stored, and everything is really stored in your aura, in your electromagnetic field. Like our electromagnetic field is like a disc, like a holographic disc, basically, that is storing everything. Like, so everything is really in your aura. it's like a mini Akashic records, and
Mm-hmm.
but then that's basically I saw that basically like everything was kind of like keeping track, and then I saw too like there was like an algorithm, like I saw the matrix, and then I saw how it kind of keeps track of everyone, of the frequency of each of all the souls, and then as the souls keeps, how do they're raising their frequency again? How do they raise their frequencies? It's through more love, right? It's as they release more of the negativity of the suffering. It's like how you raise it more. But then
Mm-hmm.
as you raise it more, then the algorithm kind of knows, and then it's like, okay, this soul is ready to take it to the next dimension, or to have more information available to them, right? That's when people talk about downloads. Like, yeah, I'm getting all these downloads. It's
Mm-hmm.
because it's available for everyone because they're come from the center of the universe. But it's just people are, they have to raise their frequency. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
get raised more, then it's available, all this information. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's something like, like basically how I came to understand. And then basically yeah, and then I after this experience that I didn't go back, which I was pretty sad that I didn't go, I wanted to go. But then I realized that, okay, I thought, well, I'd already know what's waiting for me, and I was like, okay, well, they'll come whenever they want to come, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
then I kind of continued traveling, and then I started working with people with learning disabilities. And as I started doing this kind of service, I started having my awakening, if you want to call it awakening, or then I started going through my initiation, where I started having then many experiences. Then I started having out of body experiences, and
Mm-hmm.
the first one I had, it was when I lived in Germany. I remember I went for a run, and all of a sudden, as I was working with the people with disabilities, it was actually I was working with people with learning disabilities, and then I was also with visually impaired people, and then with the visually impaired, they wanted to just like practice their English, so I started going to this group, and then I remember it was really fascinating because there was like four of them, like two guys and two girls, that they were like telling me about that. Yeah, we leave our bodies. They're like, yeah, Rafael, we leave our bodies and we can see you. We're like, I was like, really? And so I already had my NDE, and I've seen spirits my whole life. So this is not scaring me. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And then they're like, yeah, yeah. And then, so then I remember one of the guys, he's like, hey, Rafael, like like, do you feel like crying with us right now? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, because normally people, when we connect at such a deep level with someone, they all start crying. I'm like, no, I'm okay. And then but then the next day I went for a run at the park, and all of a sudden this guy, his name was Michael, he came into my vision, and I saw him with a baby, and he didn't have, his mom had died, his dad had died. He was very lonely in a way, and I remember, so in that vision that I saw him, that he had got married and had a child, my heart just poured out to him, and I started thinking of him, and then I thought, you know what, like, if I have one gift in my life, if the source God would say, Raphael, you got one gift, what do you want? I don't want it, give it to Michael, like, give him that family one day that he wants to have, and
Mm-hmm.
that happens. I was crying, and then that's when I left my body. And I
Mm-hmm.
left my body, and then I remember looking at my body down, and then I was like, at first I was like, oh my God, look at me back in. And then I started going back inside, and then I went back in my body. And then from there, I started going, having many out of body experiences in my room. And then I started going into to different parts of the earth. And then I started going out into the universe, like started basically, I remember the first time I went out to the universe, I just left my body. I saw a portal that opened up. And as soon as I saw the portal, I just went in. It's like automatically I went inside. And as I went into the portal, I saw I left the planet, and I just saw the planet fly. And then I saw all the stars, and then I saw the galaxies, and then I started going, and then I came all the way to the edge of the universe. So there was an edge, and as I was flying, I'm like, I saw there was like a wall of light, and then I came to the stop, and I'm like, God, there's a wall at the end of the universe, and I was like, and then all of a sudden, a light, like a blue and white light, came and said, there's more. If you want, you can step outside and see what's outside the universe. So then I actually went. So then I stepped, so I went through the wall, and as I stepped out of the universe, I became the universe, and as I became the universe, then I saw all these other universes around me. There was 12. I was one of those. And then there was a source in the middle. So that's where I came to understand that our source has 12 universes around. There are all schools, like kind of like what I said, that there's one, we're in one, and there's another one. And the other ones that I saw was the ones I said, the Avatar universe, the Akashic Record universe, and the Avatar universe, and there's other universes as well. And then I got to experience all that. And then after that, I came back, and then I started exploring the dimensions. So I started exploring the dimensions, which,
Yeah. So there are 12 universes. There are also 12 dimensions. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I saw. So there was like 12 universes, and then there was like 12 dimensions. 12 universes, but then we have, and then the 12 dimensions are basically within our universe.
Okay.
Then
Right.
we have we have the dimensions. So
Right.
and then from the dimensions, the way I came to experience them, I started going into and again, it's just all these experiences were spontaneous. Like I was like driving in my car, and then all of a sudden, I would go into a dimension, and it was like, or I was like waiting at, I was waiting tables. I have the experience as I was in my room. I would go into a dimension. They were like randomly. I was always awake. It was never like that I was sleeping, or I wasn't even meditating. I think I was just like reading a book, or walking on the beach, or random. And then I started going into the different dimensions. And so first I went into the first dimension. The way I came to see the dimensions, they were just like games or experiences that were here, to experience. And then I saw like levels. And again, these levels, it's just for experiences. So then as I went into the first dimension, that was for me, the way I experienced it, that was the quantum realm. And then I became the atom. And as I became the atom, then that's when I remember being like just the atom by itself, the nucleus. And then I saw, like the thousands or millions of symbols running through the atom, which is something that I think is incredible, that I eventually want to, I don't know, be in a documentary and talk about this, or share with different scientists or quantum physicists, because when they say it's empty space, it's not empty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what I saw,
Right.
as I became the atom, and then I saw all this, like they were white and they were just flying everywhere, the symbols. And then I came to understand that it's just all the symbols are just information,
Okay.
or the simulation, the matrix.
Right.
And then that's when, so then I saw that, okay, that's the quantum realm, that we get to experience ourselves as atoms as well. So that was the dimension one. And then dimension two, or realm two, or game two, is kind of like an experience. And they're all happening simultaneously, but it's just experiences that we get to experience ourselves at. You see what I'm saying? So the second one, or second realm, was kind of like to have the experience for all of us. And this is, I mean, from my experiences, all of us, that was more than you get to experience yourself as a microorganism, as a plant, as an animal, so then you get to have that experience as well. And then you get to, and then, so I became an ant, I became a cat, and and then I became the trees as well. And as I became the trees, and I remember seeing all the symbols also inside the trees. I saw like running through me, and then I saw how it was all communicated through all the forests and everything. And so that was dimension two. And then dimension three, again, that was kind of like the human experience that we have, created with this reincarnation. And then dimension four, that's kind of like, then that's where we're heading now as a collective. But dimension four is basically the multidimensional experience where time kind of collapses. And this is where all our lifetimes are happening. This is in dimension four. And then on dimension five, that's where our higher self is. And that's the avatar realm. But in dimension four, I got to explore more into it. And this is where basically I started quantum jumping. That's kind of like, this is where I kind of became one with my higher self. And this is what I had the opportunity to then start quantum jumping to different lifetimes. And the way I experienced my quantum jumping was, first I connected to my higher self. And as I became my higher self, like I said, I saw thousands and thousands of lifetimes around me in a circle, and they were all just around me. And then I saw them like in a sphere, and then I saw them like they were white, and they had like screens coming around with, where I could see like in that, like a movie, like it was like a movie. But I saw the screens running around all over that sphere. And
Hmm.
then I saw that, and then I'm like, and then all of a sudden my higher self, I traveled like in a wormhole, and then I went into one of those spheres, and as I go in one of those, it's like then I came into inside the earth, and I'm flying like a comet, and I'm flying, and then I see like, and then I'm just going in the planet, and then I see the nature, I see the oceans, and then I see the nature, and then I see the land, what is now called Scandinavia, Sweden.
Hmm.
And I'm going in there, I see the trees, and then I see a village, and then I see a little house, and I go in there, and as I go inside there, I see this man, this Viking, or he's with his kids, he's holding his baby, and he's got kids running around, his wife. And then I went inside him, and then I'm like holding the baby, and I'm like, my God, like this is one of my lifetime. And I see
Hmm.
my wife, and I'm just looking at them. And then but it was only for like 5 seconds that I'm like in shock, I'm like looking at the baby. And then all of a sudden I come out again, And then, so that was the first lifetime, and then again, another time, another day,
Hmm.
time
Hmm.
happened. Again, I went to that space, and then I went into another life. So again, I traveled like I connected with my higher self, and then I
Hmm.
quantum jump into this other lifetime, and then all of a sudden, this, the same thing. I fly in, and I see this land, and it's like Greece, and as I go in there, there's this man speaking in front of a whole bunch of other ones talking about democracy, and then I go inside this guy, and I'm like. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking about, yeah, there should be a Senate, there should be democracy. And I'm like, but then I stopped talking. Then I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in this life now. And then I was pulled out again. And
Hmm.
then, in another lifetime, I came here as an African American slave. And then I remember the same thing, I'm flying in, and I go into one of those bubbles, and I go in, and then I see the United States, and then I'm flying in, and then, I see the land, and then I see a little cottage, and I go in, and I go inside this man, and young man, that it's a slave. And then I was chained, and then I was, they were like telling us, you guys gotta move. But I'm like, God, this is crazy. And then I was moved out again, and then I was in Shaman in Mexico, and then, I was a soldier, and then, so, I got to see a couple of my lifetimes and that's
Hmm.
what's called quantum jumping. So we
Hmm.
can quantum jump to this parallel universes or parallel lives that are happening simultaneously. And,
Hmm.
but what I came to realize, that the goal, or one of the tools that we can use to ultimately start having these experiences, I came to understand, is that attachments, like we gotta let go of attachments. Like that's the ultimate sort of lesson, or thing to do, because, like let's say for right now, you all of a sudden start quantum jumping, and you go to this other lifetime, right? Or the
Hmm.
parallel universe, or parallel life. And then you go in, and then you see yourself with your wife and your children, and, so if you go in, I mean, so it's something that, like, you got to be ready, because if you go into that lifetime, like, and let's say you stay longer, for me it was like 5 seconds, but like, if you do want to go up in higher in consciousness and dimensions, because as you go even higher, then you can go into those lifetimes and kind of relive them again, and
Hmm.
then I got to see, but like, let's say you go into that one lifetime, and you see your kids and stuff, then you're like, oh, I don't want to leave this lifetime, like you're like, but you have this lifetime now, right? As Brian.
Right.
So
Right.
then it's gonna come to the point where you kind of let go of all attachments, and you realize that they're just simulations anyway, because this is all a dream, like that was one of the other things too when I had my life review. I remember in my life review, I was like, oh my God, that was all a dream.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
the council of life, man, like that wasn't real. Like what? Like that. So it was like it's all a dream, or it's all a simulation. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you have any questions right now on the fourth dimension, but
Yeah, I do. So I hear a lot about we're in the third dimension, and it's interesting. I don't hear many people talk about the fourth dimension. I hear a lot of people saying we're getting ready to shift to the fifth dimension, and we hear about the shift that's coming. So tell me more about what your perspective is on that, and just for context for people that are listening, we're recording this about 2 weeks after the elections that we just had here in the U.S., and there are a lot of people around the world that are wondering what's happening, what's going on. We've got war in Ukraine, we've got war in Israel and Gaza. So where is it we're going?
yeah, with you mean for the collective? Is that what
Yeah, for the collective. I mean, this shift that people are talking about, when's this happening and what does it mean?
yeah, so so what I came to see, like, and understand too, when I saw the Book of Earth, the Akasha records, and from my experiences, like, we're entering the fourth dimension as a collective.
Right.
Again, even within the fourth dimension, there's levels, right? Like, so we're like barely entering kind of like the very beginning of that,
Makes sense. Yeah.
So, and like I mentioned before, like, so the fourth dimension, right? It's a realm or a game, because it's just games. I mean, that's how I came to see, like, it's just a game,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it really is. But in this game or this dimension or this hologram, the new rules, right? Like, or it's like I say, it was the transparency, the integrity, and compassion. Like, those are the pillars of that. So that anything not based on those pillars are basically about to collapse. So I would say, so from what I saw from in the divine plan and everything, what I saw too is like basically everything is going to be revealed. Like, we're at the age of revelations.
Hmm.
So everything in the government, organizations, institutions, um, everything with the corruption and everything that they've done, in the past,
Hmm.
all that is going to come afloat, and that's why, I'm not for anybody, like, as far as with any politicians that, like, not
Sure.
that I
Sure.
don't have any, but the funny thing too is, like, when in 2015, 16, I was living in England, and when I was living in Cambridge, and when I was there, and when Trump was running, I already knew he was going to become president. Like, it was a clairvoyance, like, I saw him
Hmm.
in office. And the thing, what I saw though at that time, I was like, I saw that he was going to take down the system, the corruption. That he was going to reveal the corruption.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, this guy. I'm like, okay, not who I expected, right? But I
Yeah.
remember, and I remember when he was president, I was waiting the whole time. I'm like, man, this is going to come down. It's going to come down, and then nothing happened. So I was like,
Mm.
that was weird. I mean, I saw it collapsing. So, and then so now I don't know, whatever. So now he's coming back. So I remember when he was running again, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna win. I really kind of knew he was gonna win, because for what I've seen is that it's not necessarily that, people might not like him. I don't like him either. I mean, it's not that I like him, I don't like him. For me, it's more like, I just know that I know that what they're gonna do with Kennedy and whatever with Moscow, that they're gonna, at the end of the day, the truth is gonna be revealed, like, of I don't know, 9/11, and just COVID, whatever it is, like everything that has been hidden, for profits, for governments, for
Right.
because I mean, we have a system that is for wars, like
Yeah.
if it's a system that supports wars to kill people, but it doesn't support helping people. I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't
I,
make any sense. You see what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying. And it's interesting because as we're going through this, we are very polarized on either side, right? And we've been told you've got to make a choice. You've got to be red or you've got to be blue. But one thing I think we can all agree on is nobody is satisfied with the system. Nobody on either side is saying this
on
is the
either side.
best thing for the people. This is the best thing for the planet. I think we can all agree that it's screwed up, right? What we can't
Yeah.
agree on is how we fix it, but we agree that it's screwed up. So I'm looking forward to see what happens, and it is a scary time. It's a disruptive time because as human beings, I think we crave the status quo. We crave comfort, and it's uncomfortable right now. So it's nice to hear that maybe when we come out on the other side, that things will be better.
Yeah, and again, like the way I see everything is like from a higher perspective. So,
Right.
because I've been talking with my wife about this. I helped her a lot too, because she was struggling with a little bit with this. And
Hmm.
then I tell her, like, look, you got to look at it from a higher perspective, because I already seen the divine plan. Like, I see that eventually, like, I saw first the collapse of the systems, the revelation of
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
corruption, but then also, even like there's a ripple effect that we cannot even see. Like, I mean, in 3D, people cannot see it, but like, for example, like, like this whole thing with immigration and all this stuff that's happening,
Hmm.
like, that's actually gonna have some kind of impact, which I won't be able to tell you right now exactly what it is, but it's gonna cause either for people to become compassionate, because
Right.
some people will feel bad, like, oh my God, they're separating families, like, so
Right.
then what's gonna be it was the same thing as African Americans, right? There you guys, it was like we were slaves, but then it came to a point where people were like, you know what? they
Yeah.
found compassion. And so it's
Yeah.
the same thing, you know, like, and this is across the world, right? I mean, there's not
Yeah.
just US with
It's
Amazon.
across the world. We're
It's across the
seeing
world.
things
Across the
happening
world.
across the world. And as you were saying this, it reminds I was raised as a kid as a Christian and a Bible fundamentalist. And I think about Jesus' words, and Jesus talked about birth pangs. These things are going to come before the new world comes. And I kind of hear, nothing ever changes without some sort of pain, without some sort of disruption, the old being torn down so the new can come up. So I think what you're saying is very hopeful, and maybe will help some of us see some purpose in what we're going through. I was really hoping we could skip this lesson, that we could just go right to the compassion. But it looks like it's not going to be that way.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, like when I saw the divine plan, when there's complete peace and harmony, no more
Right.
wars, no more division, no more, no more hatred, so that we can. And the whole thing for that, it's like, and why do we have this? Is so that we can compare it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That we can
Mm-hmm.
say like, wow, man, we used to be at war with each other, and we used to hate each other, and there was divisions, there was borders. That's crazy, but it's like so that we can appreciate it. That's the whole thing that I came to understand, that it was all alone so we can evolve and we can appreciate, and we strive for that. You see what I'm saying? We strive for justice, we strive for equality,
Right.
we
Right.
strive for peace, but there has to be those little steps that's where we're heading to. But so when we get there, we can like look from down there like, wow, man, we made it. Like there's all this hard work, but
Mm-hmm.
you can see it how it evolved to get to that point.
Yeah.
And then also the thing that I've seen now, like it's like, because we'll talk with my wife and some friends, and then I tell them, just look at like a pendulum. Like the pendulum it's going swinging in one side,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in the negative, for example, whatever is like people say like, oh, the immigration or whatever it is, but what's going to happen is going to then come back. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
And as it
Yeah.
comes back, then it's like that's when the new system is going to come in, because as they show because they're going to reveal like the corruption in the government, and then as they show that, then there's going to be a lot of new institutions being created. I saw this new institution being created that it would be like a global ethical committee or a universal council committee
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be created, because of after all this chaos. And this is also the end of the wars, like, and there's going to be a lot of women leaders in the
Mm-hmm.
after
Mm-hmm.
the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is worldwide across, like it'll be an age where the women will start becoming the leaders
Yeah.
of the world,
Yeah.
and then they're the ones that are going to be for peace, like in Russia too. I saw a woman leader she's going to be like, okay, we're done. This
Yeah.
whole system is done. We're creating peace. No more nuclear weapons. Those are gone. Like we have to create, a global community that abides for all the world. The world peace, and then also for instead of putting all the money in military, in wars and nuclear weapons, you give that to the people. You see what I'm saying? Or you help third world countries, and that's when I
Right.
saw the unions. Like I saw the American Union. Canada, United States, and Mexico. And
Mm-hmm.
we created. Of course they're going to have parameters of how, it's not like just open borders, everybody come in,
Right.
but, but it's more like, let's help them develop, right? Because
Right.
if you go and help Mexico, I mean, I'm from Mexico, but if you go and help them become first world countries, why would they ever want to leave? I mean, people that are leaving their
Right.
families,
Right.
everything,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. People
don't
don't
even
want to
go
leave
there.
their
It's like,
countries. Yeah.
right? I mean, why would you leave all your mom, your cousins,
Right.
all your family, man, behind, man? Why would you want to leave all your family, your whole history, your whole food, like people don't want to do it. The people that do it is because they're suffering
Mhm.
financially, and there's a
Right.
better world so if first world countries help third world countries develop their infrastructure, there's going to be no even need for anybody to leave, like, so
Exactly.
ultimately that's where it's going to be. Instead of putting all the money in wars,
Mm-hmm.
put it in the infrastructure, right? And then at the end, you help them develop their economies, their infrastructure, so then they can also become productive. Like the more everyone becomes a first world country or developed country, the more everyone's going to benefit. There's going to be, what I mean? So it's a better system for everyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I saw, that this whole thing is kind of going. And then I saw like a woman, Native American president, and she was like, that she was like, oh yeah, we're creating the American Union, man. This is our land. what are you guys talking about division? like, and then they're going to create the African Union, and then there's going to create the Asian Union, and then they're going to create the Arabic unions, and and then ultimately, no more borders. People sometimes feel like, because I've done a couple podcasts, and they're like, "Oh no, one world order," like people are thinking, but it's not that. I mean, it's one. If you think it from a 3D perspective, it's like, oh my God, they're going to control us. No, it's not about that. It's more like, it's just that we will be at a level of consciousness then that it'll be all for the collective, everything, like there'll be no more borders, there'll be no more poverty. There'll be just, I mean, just if it all will be more towards like, okay, let's work on colonizing other planets, and again, like I mentioned, in 4D, it's the consciousness of multidimensionality, right? So the theories of string theory, of parallel universe theory, and simulation theory, that will become the new reality in 4D. Like all of a sudden, like the Earth is round, or we're going around the sun. Like that. That's going to be the normal talk in 10, 15 years. Like, there's different dimensions, of course, and more people are going to be talking about the dimensions. Like I'm just scratching the surface, but more and more people are going to be. AI is going to be. I mean, it's going to take us on a whole leap of consciousness, because it'll be able to, I don't know, as far as like, gather all the information from everyone, or help us understand more of the dimensions. You see what I'm saying? So then the topics will be all about the dimensions. That'll be like the norm. Parallel universe theory, meaning that, we're living parallel lives, and we're multidimensional. So that, and then it'll be like, okay, how do we ascend our frequency so that we can all start tapping into that new level of consciousness?
Right.
And we're living in a simulation, like, okay, so all this is kind of like the fourth dimension. So the fourth dimension is, it's a realm of transparency and compassion, and then of multidimensionality. That's what we're heading to. And then for the people like that are in your show, and a lot of people that are, more and more people are going to start having these experiences of tapping into their other lifetimes. They're going to start, I have memories of my other lifetimes. And then, I'll share something too, that when I lived in England, in Cambridge, I went to London to see my sister, because she was living in England too. And then I was in the underground, and then I was taking the underground. It was like, I don't know, 10 p.m. Like, it was like almost at the very, like I had to take the train back to Cambridge, but I was taking the underground. And as I was taking the underground, I was by myself. There was like nobody there. And then all of a sudden, a portal opened up. A big, huge portal open up, and then I see the future. So I time travel, and I'm able to. As I see this portal, I'm in the future, and then I see like holograms. They're saying like, get your apartment in Mars, kind of like Minority Report with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like that, like I see like, get your, and there are holograms everywhere. Like, go live in Mars, go live in the moon, go live in Venus, and they're like, that's like the norm, and then I'm like, and I time travel a lot, so I'm like, oh, cool. I just time travel into the future, and then all of a sudden, this man appeared out of nowhere. This hologram appeared. This man, like, he's kind of wearing a hoodie, and he's on I'm taking the escalators down, and he's all of a sudden appears out of nowhere, because he's in the future, and then he's taking the escalator up, and then all of a sudden I go inside him. And I realized that that's me in the future lifetime. And I quantum jump, and then all of a sudden I took because I had like some kind of Jedi hoodie. That's when I'm becoming a Jedi or ascended master, one of my future lifetimes. And then I took it out, and then I saw Raphael, and then I'm like, and then I just smile, and then I went back into my body, Raphael, and then I was just like, oh my God, I was able to quantum jump into one of my future lifetimes, And then I smiled too. He smiled, but it's just me in the future. And then all of a sudden the hologram just disappeared, and then I realized like, wow, that's so cool. And then too, that's when I came to see like, we're in a hologram. That was another experience.
Right.
Besides the life review that I'm like, okay, this is all a hologram. But then, there too, like I've been able to see. And then in the hologram, I've experienced it a lot like the Matrix, like in the movie The Matrix. I've seen all the symbols everywhere, of the symbols that I've been able to see in the Matrix as well. So that's kind of like the fourth dimension. So the fourth dimension for me, it's becoming aware of our multidimensionality.
Right.
So that's the game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think that is for me, I think anyway, that's the big leap. As I look around the world, as I've been on this planet now for 63 years, when I was born, I thought this place is crazy. I don't understand it. I don't understand the racism. I don't understand war. I don't understand poverty. I just don't get it. And and as we've been talking, I hear, I'm thinking Star Trek, I'm thinking The Matrix, I'm thinking everywhere, everything all at once.
Yes.
It's like all this stuff is I think it's being beamed into certain people to kind of get into our consciousness in various ways. And it's interesting to me because I've always been like, bring it. Let's have this yesterday. But there are other people that when you say things like, oh, no more borders or one government, or they freak out. No, no, we can't have that. That's a bad thing.
Right,
So
because they're seeing it from a 3D lens. You see what I'm saying? Like from a
right.
3D lens, you see all these leaders that are want to control the world and are bombing everyone. Because that's why it's like, oh my God, they're gonna control. So it's if you see it from a 3D lens in the fear, then you're gonna see it from that perspective. But if you see it
Well,
from a higher lens, then you're like, no, of course not.
yeah, and as we're talking, not to go too far down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, but we are controlled by a handful of people. There's a very small group of people that control pretty much everything. And again, we're not talking about just in the US. We're talking about, worldwide, and people waking up and realizing that. I think then, because what they've taught us is to fear coming together. That's a way of controlling people by keeping them separate. So if I learn to fear immigrants, they're coming for your jobs. If I then it's like that's a way we're fighting each other, as opposed to waking up and realizing that we're all in this together.
Yeah, yes, of course. I mean, is there anything you wanted to talk about the conspiracy theories?
Yeah, whatever you want to say. Yeah.
No, no. I mean, I don't know, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
the thing is, it's like, again, this is just reality. I mean, we look
yeah.
at
I mean,
income inequality, wealth
yeah,
inequality around the world, in the U.S. and around the world. The fact that some people have so much and some people can't even afford clean
yeah.
water.
No, yeah.
Uh,
It's definitely been ruled, by a handful of people, however many people. I don't know, industries, right? The families.
right,
So
right.
yeah, I mean, not. I wouldn't say in a demonic way. I don't want people to be like, "Oh my God, these guys are like demonic,
I
evil."
don't
Not like that. I think
know.
it's more like, yeah, they're just making money.
It's
Just,
it's again, it's that 3D mentality that
yeah,
says I
yeah,
I am a finite creature. There's a finite amount of wealth. I'm going to get as much as I can get.
right,
I don't care
right.
how I get. I only have this one life.
Yeah,
So I need to live it full out and grab what I can get. As we start to have this realization that this is a simulation, that we live multiple lives, that
yeah,
I was talking with someone just earlier today on Facebook, friend of mine, he's been through a lot of hardships, and we were talking about, I posted a meme that said something like, everything is going to be all right, everything, will be okay. And he goes, no, some things aren't going to be okay, some things will never be okay. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, some people have physical ailments that are never going to go away. And I said, yeah, as long as you're in the body, but you're not always going to be in the body. And that's that mentality that I think we need to break out of, that even if I have a physical ailment, I might have it for the rest of my natural bodily life, but I'm not going to have it forever.
yeah. Of course, and I think it's important as far as when you were talking about the conspiracy, all this, all people controlling. Like, it has been that way, but it's coming to an end.
Hmm.
There's it's. I mean, it's just it's. I mean, that's the divine plan, and revelations are. It's here. I saw also one of the other things I saw in the Book of Earth. I saw the age of trials. So
Hmm.
the trials are beginning next year. So it'll be like maybe I don't know 5 years, 5-10 years. There'll be trials for all the corruption. Like and
Hmm.
across the world. It's not just the U.S. It was all over the world. So
Yeah.
then there'll be all these trials, and then there's this new body, kind of like a council. I mean, the council of light, or not the council of light, but some council that it's going to create then new laws, right? Okay, no more nuclear weapons. Finally, right? So after
Hmm.
all of this comes out, then it's like, okay, because it just like, and it's like, I don't want people to think, because it's not like, that's not how I perceive it. Like, oh, all this the grays are controlling us, they're demonic. No, it's nothing like that. It's just
Yeah.
humans
We
doing
we
making
don't even
money.
have to go there. We don't
Yeah,
have
we don't
to,
have to go there. That's
you
what I
know,
mean. People are like,
yeah.
no,
I'm just
no.
saying, I tend to stay away from that stuff, but I'm just saying, let's just look objectively at where we are right now.
Right,
I just
right,
saw the other day, there's like 8 people, I think, in the US that have as much wealth as the top 50% of people in the
right,
US.
right.
Um,
Yes, of course. And then since we're ascending in frequency, it's just like it's all the light is shining on all the hidden places that it
mhm.
was always covered, And now it's inevitable because of technology and because, I mean, now with the politics. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, it's a good thing that they're going to start. I know Kennedy is going to go hard in there. He's
Yeah,
going to start blowing up some stuff, some truths. Which again, I hope the world at the end the world will see that as a good thing, right? I mean, they
yeah,
will understand like, oh my God, all along, all of this had to come out. But yeah, so that we can heal as a collective, right? Like if all the truth comes out about whatever it is, 9/11, COVID, I don't know, whatever things,
hmm hmm
all that truth comes out to the light, which it will, because we're ascending. It's inevitable. Like it's just they can't stop it. The people that who was kind of controlling is impossible because it's coming up. Now they're about to do it right now. So, and then there's a ripple effect. I mean, or the domino effect, right? Okay, then they're connected.
right, right,
Going this, and then all is gonna come out, and then there's be trials, and then there's like new. Okay, let's create a new system, right? Like
yeah,
in politics, because this
yeah,
party ain't working anymore. Like let's
right,
and then it's going to be more of a collective thing, like I said, there's going to be a lot of women leaders. So
yeah,
then like, and so then there's where the compassion. That's why when I see right now with the Mexico that they want to get all the immigrants out of here, that's just going to create actually a ripple effect of compassion.
right,
You see what I'm saying? So for the near future, like whoever is going to be in power, women in power in the U.S. afterwards, and in Russia and other countries, like that they'll say, okay, enough of the wars. Like that's it. This coming to an end. This always older men fucking wars killing each other. That's going to be gone, man. It's going to be a lot of women leaders, and then there's going to be a lot. Okay, we're done with nuclear weapons. What are we doing with all the money? With like a global treasury? Okay, let's help the collective. Let's help third world countries, and so that's how I see the divine plan. That all of that's kind of like that's what's going to happen. So I would just tell everybody, yeah, don't worry about it. It's all gonna, and
yeah,
then don't feed the fear. Like if you feel fear, like don't worry about it. Like don't feed that. On the work, just work on yourself. And then all of this stuff too. The way I've seen it too is like it's just so that people can reflect on themselves. You see
mm,
what I'm saying? Like if someone is racist inside to some extent for a little bit or whatever, it's so that they are not racist, right? Because they'll feel like, you know what? No, it's not the way, Or if
mhm,
there's, so whatever it is that I think this whole that where we're going to go through in the next years is just a time of reflection, that, and then for also for the people that are going to create the new systems. There's a lot of old souls right now that have been coming down because their
right,
systems are about to collapse.
right, right,
So the new systems have to be created, right?
yeah,
And then and then that's the reason that yeah, then basically I'm putting something together with my wife. We're calling it Project Utopia 2025.
hmm
And our idea is to eventually launch it. We're still working on that, but our idea is to kind of like create a platform of social platform for ideas, so that people can come with their ideas. You see what I'm saying?
mm,
Like these are our ideas. We have some ideas, but maybe people all over the world can then start putting all their ideas. Like, how can we create a better political system that's for the benefit of all? How can we create a better economical system? With AI or whatever for the benefit of all. How can we create a better healthcare system? So because the systems are about to collapse, and then new systems are going to be created.
hmm
So I would say that, yeah, for the world not to worry, because there is a divine plan, and it's all leading towards the collapse of the system, and then it's all leading to creating a better system, and then it's all leading to world peace. So that's what I've seen in my life, and that's why I'm trying to put together some webinars about all this, and then in my decoding life lessons I give webinars more about releasing the fears, the attachments,
hmm
and then I talk about the different dimensions, or ascension, and so I talk a little bit about all this in my webinars. But yeah, so that was the fourth dimension, and then the fifth dimension. So again, I'm just telling you my perspective of the dimensions, because I know people are like, oh no, that's not it. That's the fifth. That's
yeah. Well, all we can do is tell our perspective, and I think what the bottom line I'm taking away from our conversation today is it's all good. But to be hopeful, to not be fearful. You know,
Yeah.
we go through darker times, we go through lighter times, but there's a plan, there's a purpose. And again, I nothing lasts forever. You know, when been through what I've been through, having had my daughter pass away, you know, it's like some people say that's forever, but I know it's not forever. So anything else I look at, everything else is temporary too. So I try to hold on to that and to, as you said, I think it's really important. Work on yourself, raise your vibration. Um, let's learn our lessons while we're here in Earth School, so we don't have to repeat the same lessons. We may have to come back a few more times, but at least we're not doing the same thing all the time, you know, and kind of moving ourselves up.
Yes, exactly. I mean, yeah, I think that's ultimately the main message, just
Yeah,
don't worry about anything. Like if there's a divine plan and just focus on you,
yeah,
And I think that's usually what I always tell people too. Like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just work on yourself and work on your lessons. And
yeah.
yeah, and if you see it from a higher perspective, I think that's the goal too, right? Like instead of seeing it like a victim, like, oh my God, I went through this, like, why did this happen to me? And this, but if you say, okay, this happened for me, like, so I can learn a lesson. It's your higher self. It's your higher self bringing you all these experiences.
Mm,
That's how I came to understand it. So it really is your higher self putting all these scenarios and it's like like playing like a game, like you're going through the dungeon or you're going through this through
mm,
the dragon and you gotta go make it to the top of the castle, right?
mm-hmm,
All these little challenges, but at the end, like there's a lesson to be learned in every challenge. So again, we go back to the hard ones, the letting go, the forgiveness, the non-attachment, the patience, the respect. The ones that are a little hard, those are the hard ones. But ultimately to have integrity, right? And so,
yeah,
um, and then the things like you can see, like if things keep coming back to you, like it's because you have to work on the lesson.
mm-hmm,
And that's it. And the universe and your higher self will make sure, like if you're kind of like not wanting to step up to the lesson and you're like, nah, just kind of ignore it. It will come back again. It'll come back again. And until you're like, okay, well, what's the lesson? So that's why I have the name that I use as the decoding life lessons is to help people decode the lessons and help them
mm-hmm,
with their lessons. But so that was the fourth. And then I'll go into the fifth dimension. So for me, once you explore yourself in the fourth dimension and, all your life tests, and then you can, okay, then at the top of the fourth dimension for me is more like, then you can start exploring yourself as because you already are like aware of all kind of like your other lifetimes,
mm-hmm,
and then no, it's more like at the fifth dimension. That's kind of like where you start actually. Then you can become everyone throughout time and space history. You see what I'm saying? At the
mm-hmm,
fifth dimension, it's more at the fifth dimension. Once you enter the fifth dimension, you're like then you start. You have already become all you graduated. You become an ascended master.
mm-hmm,
Um, you already became one with all your lifetimes, and then from there, then you can even explore yourself throughout everyone throughout history. Like you can become who do you want to become? Abraham Lincoln. There you go. Then you will go into Abraham Lincoln. Or who do you want to become? Like Einstein, because you'll go into Einstein. You can then get to that point where you start becoming the collective throughout time and space, and
mm,
then so that you can play with that. And then so that's for me more the fifth dimension. And then at that point, then you start going to the levels where you can start incarnating with more advanced civilizations, kind of like they talk about the Palladians, the Arcturians, the Lyrians. These are fifth dimensional beings,
mm,
or ascended masters, but or whatever you want to call them, fifth dimensional beings. So at this level, they're like everyone's telepathic. There's no more hate or anger because for you to be at that level, it doesn't exist.
mm-hmm,
So and there's complete transparency. The telepathy, telekinesis. These abilities are like just normal. Like you're talking to me like just normal things.
right,
And then at that point, it's like then you start doing. You start going to different levels. Then you go with more advanced civilizations where they're working more of at a galactic or universal level. You're learning about how the other civilizations are working and their technologies and how the universe works even more. And so then you start at that level of the fifth. So for me, that's the fifth dimension. You start, or you
mm-hmm,
can become. Let's say you divide yourself, kind of like we're multidimensional, right? Like all these thousand lifetimes. You can in the fifth as a fifth dimensional being, you can actually become aware of all of them at the same time. You see, and be aware of them, all of them at the same time.
Right,
So that's
right.
for me, like, so that's the level where, and so then that you can explore yourself for a while there in the fifth dimension, and then at that point, you get to the point where you can also start, and then you get to the sixth dimension. So for me, then the sixth was where, like, that's kind of like the creator realm, and then that's where you start creating planets. And because then I also, when I went into the sixth dimension, I became a sixth dimensional being, and then I started creating the planet. As a creator of planets, I started creating the matrix of the planet, and I started creating the divine plan of the planet, and then I started putting the whole, like, dimensional scales from 1 to 6 in the planet, and then I started putting the whole thing with the simulation, the codes, all these
Okay.
codes. I started
Right.
creating all those, and then I started creating the grids around the planet. Because there's like all these grids or ley lines around the planet that
Hmm.
connects everything and everyone. And then you said, I was setting up as I was creating the planet. I mean, it was incredible that I had this experience. I mean, and again, it was just for a couple, I don't know, for 3 minutes to 3 minutes that I had this experience. Like, ran, very short. But as
Hmm.
I was creating the planet, I was setting up like an algorithm where I was putting, like, as souls evolve, then I give them more abilities or more information. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So then at this, if they're like games, it's a game. It's all a game. So then for people that have already reached this level right here, then I'm going to let them become aware that there's all these codes in the
Yeah.
matrix.
Wow. Right.
And then I'm going to let them become aware that there's all these grids. So then they can start becoming grid workers. And then because I'm also a grid worker. So then you start becoming aware of this whole new games. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was like the sixth dimension that I was creating all this. And then from there, I became a seventh dimensional being. And then I started creating the stars. And then the different planets, the different solar systems, and then I went into the eighth dimension, and then I started creating the galaxies, and then I became the galaxies, I became the star, I became the planet, and then
Mm.
at the ninth dimension, I started creating a universe. So I became, I created the universe, and then at the 10th dimension, I created the multiverse, and then at the 11th dimension, I became the source. Remember, I tell you there's a source with the multiverse, and then the 12, what's beyond source, there's other sources. So
Hmm.
that's how I experienced the dimension.
Wow. Wow. Well, we'll have to do this again so we can get more detail because we're like past our time, but I could keep going with you for sure. But Raphael, tell people, I know I think you're working on some books, and repeat again, and then you get the webinars, and you get the project, the Utopia project coming up. So let people know where they can find out about all that.
Yeah, so my website is Decoding Life Lessons. You can find out more about me, and then about the webinars that I do. And again, I help people with I do one-on-one, or I do webinars and helping them with as far as like releasing fear, releasing attachments, and working on different things. And then if you want to, then I also teach about living in 4D or time travel, quantum jumping, this
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And then my other one again was Project Utopia 2025, which
Yeah.
are again just ideas about how we can create a better system. And I'm sorry, and what was the last question you said? Besides,
You mentioned you were working on some books,
oh yeah, the
so
books. Sorry. Yeah, and then the books. One of the books I'm working on is called Transform, and that's basically about my experiences. So then, then I go in detail into, because I had so many. I mean, I'm only covering a few here, but
yeah, I can tell
you know,
there's a lot. There's a lot here.
there's a lot, man.
Yeah.
And so then I go into basically a little bit about talking about the dimensions and talking about my different out of body experiences, and my different, seeing the symbols, seeing the matrix, seeing the lead lines, a couple different old experiences that I had, about basically about all my experiences, how I was transformed from that.
Yeah.
And then this at the end of cycle of reincarnation, all this stuff. So I basically just talk about my experiences, how I was transformed. So
Hmm.
that's about my experiences. And then there's another book I'm working on, is Q&As with the cosmos. So I'm doing a whole dialogue with different kind of description of different topics, and then I do 10 questions and answers.
Okay.
So for example, I do what's an NDE, and then I describe it, and then I say questions and answers, and then I talk about the dimensions, and then I talk about parallel universes. I talk about time travel. I talk about the Mandela effect. Yeah, I
Mm.
talk about quantum jumping. So
Awesome.
different topics. So then it'll be like so this is from my own experiences from becoming the universe, and and all this stuff. So then I'll do I'm talking about like a description, and then I'll do 10 questions and then 10 answers. With that. So that's a Q&A with the cosmos. And then another one I'm working on is highlights of the afterlife, which will be more like, just the highlights of what it's like when we cross over.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, it's Project Utopia 2025 that I'm working on. So yeah, those are my books.
Yeah, well, I can tell you're a busy man. You got a lot going on. I really, really enjoyed our conversation today. So thanks for being here.
Oh, likewise, Ryan. Thank you. I'm really happy that we're able to help people and see everything from a different perspective, and then just to share my stories.
Yeah,
To let people
yeah.
know.
I think this is going to bring a lot of people a lot of hope and a lot of peace, and that's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, Raphael, enjoy your afternoon.
Okay, Brian. But thank you so much.
All right.